Well, good evening and welcome to Senior Info. And we're back to get these ladies that come all the way up here from Fall River.
Yep.
And Davis Cox, who is, you're president now, aren't you?
I'm Director of Marketing and Outreach for the
okay.
Massachusetts Senior Games.
The Senior Games, yeah.
Former chairman.
Ah, you're former chairman, that's what it was, okay. But Davis is still, you're pretty active with the games then.
Well, I'm qualified in 3 events for this coming National Senior Games, which is going to be in Des Moines, Iowa in July of next year.
Are you going out?
I'll be in basketball in the 85 to 89 year age group.
We're going to give a big
And
applause right there.
that's
That's
so great.
I will
amazing.
also be in the singles shuffleboard and the double shuffleboard.
Yeah, you got into the shuffleboard late, right? When you,
Well,
by accident or something?
I had never played shuffleboard in my life, and 4 years ago, the story was, to make a quick story short, I delivered some T-shirts and medals, and the guy said, well, why don't you stay and play? And I said, I've never played this before. And he said, well, you got about 10 minutes here. Let me show you how it's done. So there were 2 of us in the group, and I got the gold medal, and I went to the Nationals, and I brought back a silver medal, and I've been involved ever since, and I love it, and I play every Wednesday.
That's awesome.
Now, a big game that's with seniors now is their pickleball, right?
Oh, yes. Yes, they love their
And
pickleball.
We
We
cringed.
just had 3 days of pickleball this past weekend. Yeah.
Well, we had the
Just in the
tournament.
weekend, wow.
They had a tournament.
Oh,
West
yeah,
Boylston.
you had one.
Indoor WCRN broadcasted live from there.
Mm-hmm.
And but you're finding that big down your way too,
Oh,
right?
Oh,
Yes.
it's huge. We actually get quite a bit of people who want to rejoin getting into exercise, and they think pickleball is the way to start. We bring them into our balance class. We show them a little more about balance and moves and yeah, it's not really you don't just really want to walk out and go do pickleball if you haven't really done exercise in a while.
Yeah.
There's definitely some balance things. You don't want to run backwards. I think is that one of the rules of pickleball is
Yeah.
not to run backwards. And
Oh, I didn't know it. You're not supposed to run backwards.
no, because how often do you walk backwards?
Right, but if you don't, it's almost like badminton. Don't you have to?
Well, it's kind of like a sideways,
It's more
sideways,
sideways.
sideways. Yeah. So there's some. Yeah. I mean,
But there are
Yeah,
it's
the
a great.
people
It's
that-
great. It's
yeah.
great. But
It's
we
a-
also see a lot of people fall down.
Yeah,
Which,
because you're
And then they'll
gonna
come to
maneuver
see
a
us.
lot.
and then they come to find us. Yes.
I mean, if you play tennis, you fall down.
Right. But it's something about, okay, so it's kind of like outdoor soccer compared to indoor soccer, right?
Right.
Outdoor soccer, you kick farther, it's wider fields, you have
Right.
more room to roam. Indoor soccer is super quick, it's bouncing off the walls, and you got to move and change in position like that. Same idea with tennis versus pickleball, okay? So where pickleball, you're reacting quick, and you're trying to go back, and it's definitely quicker, faster. That's the same thing, but like movement where you need to be more agile, and we talk about game ready position, because if you see some of the people playing pickleball, do you see people that are standing straight up, like not really bending? They're like just knees are locked. They're kind of playing like it's not the way to do
Well, I know.
any game really, but.
Right here in Northbridge, we built some pickleball court, and the place is always being used, constantly
yeah.
being used.
It's such a
great
trend,
that
yeah.
people are getting out and being active, and they find something that they enjoy.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
just you want to be ready.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Are you
practice.
Yes,
finding
you do.
injury?
You
Are
want,
you- are you
especially, yeah,
Having
we have
people come in with injuries from it?
Yes.
I actually just looked up something. I just did a men's health discussion in Plymouth. That one of the things we talked about was the injuries resulting from pickleball, and it's not, but most of them are fractures. that like 49% of the injuries that people who play pickleball have are result in fractures. And it's not to scare people, it's just, again, like, prep your body, work, it's not just stepping on the court. You need to do a little prep work and maintain
Right, yeah,
that.
because it's not played on grass.
No,
No,
no.
they're playing on usually
I'm
the
trying to
court.
think, where is our, do we have? No, because the ball doesn't bounce.
Right, it's
you know.
asphalt, I guess. or
But you
cement.
wouldn't run
Or
a
a gym,
marathon without
yeah.
training yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right? So pickleball, there's a lot more involved. You have other people you're working around, and it's
Yeah.
a good idea to kind of train yourself before you get out on the court.
We don't poo-poo it, like, it's a good
No,
thing,
yes,
like, we want
definitely.
people out
Right,
there
no,
for
you-
sure,
Yeah,
yeah.
you want to move, you want people
Yes.
moving, because that's
Yes,
the best
it's
exercise in the world, is
excellent.
keep moving.
Yeah. And
But
the
it is.
camaraderie that you,
Oh, yeah.
the people, I mean, we have a few people that they still see us after, right? But they went to us before they started doing pickleball, and now they're still seeing us because they want to make sure that they can keep doing it.
I mean.
And they improve their game, so
Oh,
that we're
yes.
giving them
Right.
little tips and tricks to
Yeah.
improve their game, so.
But, like we talk about moving, doctors will tell you that even if you want to go out and just walk, you should talk to the doctor first and make sure that it's not gonna, you can handle it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good to have your doctor on your team. Like, we always make sure when we're exercising, people have the okay. We're not medical, but we still have, like a physician's clearance form that we have our clients bring in and talk to their doctor. It's also a fall prevention referral, so it's kind of a referral, but it's more that they just know that we're on board on this person's team, helping take care of them.
It
And
might be better talking with you than talking with the doctor, because you deal with it every day.
well, I will
You're more
never say we're
experienced.
better than a doctor. So
Well, you're more experienced. You're more experienced than the doctor, because the doctor handles all kinds of stuff.
I see what he's saying.
Harry, don't get us fired.
No, I'm not saying.
We don't want to lose
Yeah,
our
we
Yeah,
say
yeah,
nobody
yeah. I
plays
see
the
what he's
doctor,
saying.
but
We're with.
No, like, always doctor is number one. We will always refer to, because they know more
They-
medically
they
what's going
refer-
on.
They might refer you.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
Yes,
we
would
do.
other way around.
love that. We would love doctors to refer, and we
Right.
refer to doctors. But we know the balance and body mechanics and stuff
Right,
like
that's
that.
what I
That's
mean.
what we
Yeah.
specialize in, yeah.
It's like being a specialist. Doctors can't be special on everything.
No,
Right, that's
right,
true.
So you have general practitioners, but then you have specialists.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And you're a specialist in
Yeah,
exercise and in balance
Mm-hmm.
and how to stay from,
Stay
keep from falling.
functional and, yeah.
yeah. And that's why we promote the team, just like you're saying, because all of those people, we can be part of that
Yeah.
team, and medical doctors are the lead, right? We come in a different
Yeah.
area of the team and help keep people, either whether it's they're playing their best pickleball game or just trying to get out and about and be as independent as
Well,
possible.
medicine has really morphed into that over the years.
Well, here's the thing, when we're little, when we have a child, we say it takes a village, right? Well,
Yeah.
why wouldn't it take a village as we get older?
Right.
So
Right.
we're just a
but-
part of
right.
that village.
But it makes more sense. I mean, you go back 50, 60 years ago, people had a family doctor, and he was
Yeah.
the one who gave all the advice, and there weren't very many specialists around.
Right?
Right.
Now, everything, whatever you have, you're gonna go to a specialist.
Actually, that
You
is-
start with the general practitioner, but
Right.
then they go to the specialist, and you build up, you have a team that works with you.
Right.
Right, and it gets really tough too if people aren't willing to share. Like we've actually find that some people like to compartmentalize and not tell each team member everything that's going on, right? And then they wonder where there's some discrepancies or things fall through the cracks. And it's so important to have every team member on board, because you wouldn't want to run a business where people didn't know what was going on,
That's
right? That
right.
wouldn't work very well. It's the same with your life. Like, make sure all your team knows what's going on so they can all do
Oh,
the
that's
best
a-
and work together, right?
Yeah, and that's a really good point, because say you go see your cardiologist, you would assume, a lot of people assume, and I've heard this before, well, I went to my doctor, wouldn't they already know? Like,
Yeah.
when I always tell people, you go to your cardiologist, you go to a specialist, have them write down their recommendations, and you bring them with your next
Right.
appointment.
Right. They don't call
Okay.
each other.
They don't.
Unless there's
You would
something
think,
really bad
especially
going on.
today
they
with
don't.
technology, And the
Yeah.
computer systems and how they are,
Well, I know, I have a cardiologist, I have a general practitioner, but they communicate with one another because the file is all in one spot now.
hmm
And I just.
if they're all within the same network though,
Right,
that's,
and it's gonna continue. I lost my local doctor because he retired,
mhm.
and there's no more doctor available here in town.
Wow.
I ended up in UMass in Worcester, but October 1st, I make this announcement, I've already been told by my people, my diabetes nurse, I have a lot of things. But she said, as of October 1st, UMass is merging with Milford
Really?
and bring them in Mass General.
Really? 'Cause
UMass?
I still go, even though I'm way down Fall River area, my doctor's still in Shrewsbury, so that's interesting to know. So,
Who works with UMass?
I think it's mostly St. Vincent's, but I think they have some privileges at UMass
Yeah,
too.
well, they're consolidating everybody.
Yeah, yeah,
So, and everything's online now.
I know.
yep.
I mean, I transferred my medical records, they were there when I got to the doctor, they were there instantly almost.
I mean, that is a good thing. Like, I think the medical field is trying to keep people more connected and
Right,
you know, but it's still not, like Corie was saying, if you go out of network for another doctor, they may not be privy, and we're getting
Right.
used to everybody knowing, so we still have to make sure that we're vigilant and making sure everybody knows everything, right?
right, authorize them, if I say everything online, just, all you do is authorize them to get that information.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep. Very good point.
Yeah. And like, you're right, keep it open to even with you two, when you work with someone rehab or,
Right home.
because you come in after, like we were talking earlier, you come in after the rehab, the
Yeah,
rehab person
or
is done,
before.
right?
Or before, we kind of
Or
fill the gap,
before, yeah,
we
you fill
kind of
the
fill the
gap, yeah.
gaps, like where before people need to enter into therapy or healthcare system other than just wellness. We kind of try to keep that wellness maintained, or after they discharge and come home, kind of fill the gap so they can continue exercising and staying healthy, because I know people, I've heard so many times, like people are like, oh, I'll just wait until my doctor refers me to physical therapy. Well, at that point, like, physical therapy is kind of like the lowest you want to go, because what if you can't make it to physical therapy, what's next?
Right.
Nothing, right? So therapy, we take the people from where they can barely move to get them as good as we can. You don't want to go that tanked,
Right.
unless
You
you've
don't
had a
wanna-
surgery or there's something going on, like, yes, like physical therapy is great, but it's physical therapy. We're trying to get insurance to pay for our exercise by going to physical therapy, and that may be why physical therapy is so busy too, is that there's so many people that they recognize that they need more in their, they're getting deconditioned, so they want to help themselves get better. Because, wellness, which is exercise facilities and companies like ours, like that's not covered with insurance, that's coming out of pocket, and
But in the same sense is, so say you have therapy services within your insurance, if you're using those therapy services when you may have been able to use it through personal training, let's say, where you're not quite at that level, you'll be able to save those services for the therapy when you need it.
Right.
So it can really balance each other out.
because really you only get so many days of
Right.
physical therapy.
Yeah. Insurance
Right.
kind
And
of
once
dictates
it runs
that.
out, it runs out.
Well,
So.
I don't understand why insurance companies don't look at that, because
Otherwise,
wouldn't it be
preventative.
better to keep the person from having
Yes.
a relapse, from
Yeah.
ending up back in the hospital? It's gonna
Yep.
cost you a heck of a lot more to have them in the hospital.
Exactly.
I think they're starting to become more aware and try to do more wellness. It sounds
makes
like
sense.
Yeah,
it
it
does, and
does.
it sounds like more and more companies are starting to give people fitness benefits. Unfortunately, they may cover like a cost of a gym for the year, and not really more into, more having someone help you train.
Right.
But I think there's more and more companies out
One
there.
of, one of my next door neighbors, he's a tennis player, and one of his benefits is he can buy a tennis racket. It's
Oh.
like $200 or $300 to be spent on that particular sport.
Yeah.
And my wife has a policy that gives her a break on a fitness training program of any kind. Okay. Now me, the only benefit I have is what AARP gives me, and the senior games. That's my motivation.
What does AARP give? Does AARP give actually something? I keep on getting that invitation.
I know, I haven't done it yet, but I know I need to.
Well,
And I'm like, I don't-
that's where I get my insurance.
Oh, okay, you get it through there.
When you get, you're a long way from 65, but when you get to be
No,
65,
50,
you'll.
50, well,
50.
65, you're on
50.
Medicare, but 55, you can join AARP.
Exactly.
I've been getting those notifications. I just keep, no, I'm not ready. But I don't know why, because they have such great benefits and there's so many programs they have. Like,
Well, they have a program, a breakdown of your automobile is really better than anything I've ever seen. I've had that for
Really?
years.
Yes.
Yeah, they get 100 miles free towing if you get
Yep.
breakdown.
yeah.
Yeah, it's through
As a-
Allstate.
Do you get that in addition to your car insurance, or you mean you get your car insurance through
No,
them?
I have to pay for it, but it's a minimal amount.
It's,
It's
I think
kinda
it's
like a
$120 a
AAA.
year.
Oh, it's
It
like
may,
AAA.
yeah, it may be $120 a year, but the thing of it is, you can get it
It's,
towed
it's a
for
good program.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Wow.
100 miles, and,
That is
and
a
some
good
of the
deal.
other, some of the other programs, you only get 10 miles or
Yeah,
something like
yeah,
that.
Right.
Right.
It's a-
Yeah.
So if you break down near your
You're out of
repair
luck.
place.
Yeah, we'd actually like to tap into AARP a little
Yeah,
bit and
probably
learn more
should.
about, because some of the things that we help people is to keep their necks in shape so they can drive better.
Yes,
So
big factor.
Yes,
Mhm.
and that's, with our clients, we're trying to keep people as independent as possible, and the driving cessation is a real big topic. Like, what do we do if when I don't drive? And so we try to keep people in as shape as we can, but some clients are having some cognitive issues, and we're not, like, driving may not be the safest thing, so I'd like to find out more about the driving tests that people have, and I know AARP is good about having, I think they come to some of the council on agings and other places and have some driving classes or tests or something, so I'd
Well,
like to look into that.
I think in Massachusetts now, after a certain age, you have to take a driving test when you renew your
I
license.
know that was up for debate. I don't know.
Yeah, I
how.
don't know if that's.
I don't
So
think
it's-
that's happened yet, but it should, really.
Yeah, it should at a certain,
'Cause,
it's
I
a
mean,
good idea.
I had an uncle that got in a serious accident,
Oh, jeez.
and they took his license, but he wanted to get it back.
Mhm.
And I took him to the registry, and we go out for a test, and I sat in the back seat when he sat with the registry official, and couldn't turn his neck.
Yeah, that's what we.
That's
find
why he
too.
got the accident.
Yeah.
So we got
Oh.
back to the registry, he said, I can't give him his license.
He can't turn his neck. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
And it's a real thing. Like,
It
people
is.
are like, "Why am I
That
doing this?"
devastated him.
Yeah, yeah, that's a game
Because
changer.
he was a widower,
Mhm.
and he was trapped at his house.
Yep.
We'd actually take his car out of the garage back into the driveway and pull back into the garage.
Oh, he missed it so much. He
Oh,
wanted
yeah.
to drive.
Because he did a
It's
lot
so
of
hard, and
driving.
that's part of his independence.
Yeah,
Right, and so for anybody, that's gonna be a real tough blow.
it is.
You
Yeah.
lose all your independence, you're gonna have to rely on someone to take you places.
And
Yeah.
that is why people want to keep driving so much and so important, right? Imagine if we got to see this particular person beforehand, we might have been able to help them. Because a lot of times people don't know they can't do a motion. I just had someone today in our class, I had them do an ankle circle, and I'm like, okay, let's make some circles. And he was like, I can't do that. I didn't know I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Never
So,
thought about it.
Never
Right,
thought about it.
right.
Never
Right?
had to.
Never
Right,
had to,
right.
right? But it's a crucial move. It's so important to have range of motion in your ankles, right?
Yes.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and just along the lines of like things not moving, right? If someone is like, how many times do you see people with bad posture and they're driving like this, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
Well, if you try to turn your neck when your back's like this, you're not going to get that same
Yeah, he
range
would-
that if
he
you're doing
drove
here
like
and you
that.
turn around.
He
Yeah.
drove.
You would
like
see- if he was
that.
coming at you, all you saw was his hat.
Yep. So it's not just the fact that he can't turn his neck, but
You know he's coming by his
he can't
hat.
look over the steering wheel.
that's all you
either.
saw was the hat and the steering wheel.
I'm envisioning this.
It's sad, you know, but
Yeah. And we chuckle, but we see it all the time,
Yeah.
and like,
but you're right about being able to turn your ankles. That's probably one of the main reasons you fall.
It sure
balances
is.
a lot from your ankles
Yes.
for sure.
Your feet are the first thing that hit the floor, the ground, right? First
Yeah.
thing.
Speaking of falls, I would like to,
Are you
I'd like to mention that this month is National Falls Prevention Week, month.
Yes.
And I'd just
September?
like to. It's
September is, yeah.
And the 21st was National Falls Prevention Day.
Oh, first day of fall.
And one of the things that the senior games is involved in is preventing falls and promoting that concept of preventing falls.
Well, staying active by participating in the senior games.
That's right.
Is the best way to stay in shape and not fall, right?
That's right. And what if I may, I'd like to. I jotted down. I looked up on the web to see if I could grab a couple of statistics
Very good.
just to pass along to you. It turns out that don't always believe what's on the web. Okay.
Rule
But
number
this
one.
is-
What is your
Rule
source?
number one.
Right.
Rule
What are your,
number one.
what's your source?
But what we have here, it says that there are nearly 3 million adults treated in emergency centers each year for injuries related to falls.
That's a lot.
3 million. And the second item I looked up was said in 2021 there were 38,900 and some deaths related to falls prevention. So how I met these two ladies here was I was involved in an activity involving falls prevention, and and our relationship has been so strong because I found that they are experts in falls prevention, and falls prevention starts in the home.
Well, isn't that where most accidents happen, right?
And a good friend of mine's mother fell in the bathroom and didn't survive. She hit her head on the sink.
Sorry.
And the way and there are several ways to prevent that, and one is to go through your home and look for the items that are causing you danger. Now my wife gets up in the middle of the night and doesn't turn on the lights, and I've warned her that sooner or later she's gonna have to turn on the lights. I always turn on the lights when I get up at night, okay? But you got to watch out for things like scatterrugs, and these ladies are expert on that thing. The only thing that I would say is that the better shape you're in, if you do fall, which you will sooner or later, if you live long enough, you will fall.
Yeah,
And the better condition, physical condition you're in, the more likely you are to recover and recover more quickly.
Right.
Well,
1 in
and-
4
yeah.
fall over 65, according to the CDC.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up too, because falls are not a normal part of aging. So if you have a fall, you need to go get checked out, not only to make sure you're safe from what happened with the fall, but why the fall happened. A lot of times it's because our posture is not correct, our feet are too close together, like just our body mechanics are breaking down. And do you remember how you learned how to walk?
Well, I was there, but I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, nobody knows.
knows.
Nobody knows. So we can't go back on past knowledge to learn how to relearn how we did that, right? So
Well, I know I had 2 boys, I had kids. You learn to walk by holding on to things.
Right, furniture walking, yeah.
right,
Yeah.
but it's not. But it's also staying really wide,
Right.
right?
Yes.
So when we learned to walk, our arms were out, our legs were out. We
Right,
were
Right, well,
kinda
we're
walking like
balancing,
this, yes, yeah.
we're balancing, and
Exactly.
that's what you gotta develop is your sense of balance to walk.
But you
Right.
don't learn it in one day, right?
No.
It takes a little bit of time.
And, yep, and we unlearn it in a lot of time. So to learn it back, to relearn it without having that past knowledge of how we did, yes, we can see, but unless you're like a gait specialist, like you're not really looking at all the little intricacies of what, what's happening. And we have 6 rules.
Mm-hmm.
We have 6 rules for body mechanics and how to keep yourself balanced. Do you want me to run through it?
Sure, go right ahead.
All right, number 1,
Breathing.
I'm gonna test Corie because we've been
I
practicing
know.
this.
I know them, but for some reason, on
Yep.
the spot, I'm not very good at saying
So I'm
them.
putting her on the spot.
Especially
No,
likes
just
to put me
kidding.
on the spot. We love to challenge each other.
So breathing, number 1, if you're holding your breath, the chances of your motion breaking down heightens. Like
Right.
you
Well,
get
it sends
tense
the
and yeah.
cortisol level. So our body goes through different pathways. We have our sympathetic and a parasympathetic pathway. So we're holding our breath. We're tensing our muscles, and then we're actually more likely to injure ourselves. Right? They've actually done studies on this with people in car accidents. You know, you always hear that someone that was intoxicated got into the car
Right.
accident and they are fine, but the one that was alert in the passenger seat
Oh,
is the one
yeah.
that's passed away or
I agree.
injured.
If you're gonna fall, if you tense up,
You're more likely to injure
yeah,
yourself.
you can injure yourself.
Right. Yep.
All right, so that's our number 1 is breathe. Make
So
sure you're
breathe.
loose, right? Number 2 is posture.
Posture. Posture
Right,
is
so
everything.
head over shoulders, shoulders over hips, hips over ankles, blah, all the way down, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we-
So if your
we
head is-
taught that back in grade school, remember?
Yeah.
Stand up against
Sit
the
up.
wall is a good way to kind
Look
of
on
give
your
you
head,
Yeah.
walking down, right?
put
Sit
yourself
up
up
in your
against
seat.
the wall is
Yeah.
one of our favorite
How many times the teacher have
exercises.
to tell you
Yeah.
to stop slouching?
Right. It's huge because that little forward head posture,
Mm-hmm.
your
Yeah.
head is 8 to 12 pounds, right? And what's it going to do? It's trying to take you to the ground.
Right. Every
And what's going to follow? Your body. So if
Yeah.
your head's going,
That's
and
where
it's
your
no
body thinks
wonder,
it's going.
if your head's forward, all of a sudden now, guess what's holding you up? Those little tiny muscles on your back. So now we start having back pain.
Mhm. And
So
you
it's-
think of that with people. I'm just going to use this as a pretend
Sure.
phone.
We brought you
This,
presents.
right, where we have our head down like this is our pretend phone. Our head's down like this. We're putting a lot of pressure back here, and it causes a domino effect, right? Because now we get upper thoracic nice and tight, and then we go to say, "Whoa, why can't I turn my head?" Right?
Yeah. So
You
there
think
you
about
go.
it, when
Right.
people faint, the head goes first.
Yes.
Yeah. And a lot of times, why do people faint?
Yeah, what happened that?
Because they lock their knees, right?
Yeah,
And so that posture, you're not supposed to lock your knees. But if your head's forward, it keeps your knees bent too much, and then that's how people say, "Oh, well, I don't know. I was just walking along and my knee gave out." Well, it might be because that with your head forward, that was too much for your knees to try to hold you, and it said, "Zoop, I can't do this." So, all right. So
Number
2 is
1.
posture. 3 is basis
Basis
support.
support.
Which is what we were talking about, is like when babies learn to walk, their arms are wide, their legs are wide, and they learn how to be stable. As we start getting better at what we do is everything gets narrower, 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 and then when we start to fall, you find people are walking, with their feet
Really close
like
together.
this. Yeah.
And I find particularly when people step backwards, that is when, they might be like, "Oh, I'm doing fine, my feet are apart," but then there are times when we have to step back to turn, and then that opportunity to basis support tends to get a little bit more narrow.
So the camera can't see it, but what she's doing is she's bringing her foot behind, and it's almost crossing behind the other one, and then we wonder why we fall down, and that is the pickleball problem. So there's that
Right there,
problem,
that's the
right?
pickleball, that was the excuse.
well, you're
there.
moving around in that court. and-
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
So just keeping your feet apart, like it's the key. It's just that base of support. If your arms are narrow, your feet are wide. If your feet are wide, your arms are narrow,
Yep.
or whatever. Your
Vice
feet
versa.
are narrow, your arms are wide.
Just like a good example is the tightrope walker, right?
Yeah.
I'll just demonstrate it. And the tightrope walker, right, you can see where a tightrope walker is walking one foot in front of the other, but their arms are out, right?
Yes,
So it's
to-
kind
yeah,
of
to keep
keeping
their
the
balance,
balance.
yeah.
Whereas a basis support, if we're standing here and my arms are narrow and my hands are at my side, I need to have space between my legs, like so.
So
Okay.
pretend you're playing pickleball.
Pickleball, this is what we'll see. So someone's taking pickleball, can't say the word, and then they step back. See how my basis support just got a little bit narrow? And here I have something in one hand, so I'm off-weighted.
Ah,
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm not only decreasing my base of support, I'm off-weighted.
So base of support, keep it wide when you're playing pickleball.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
All right, so that's number 3, 4.
Be in control.
Be in control.
Okay.
No diving. we
No
like to say,
diving.
so.
One of the things I see too is people plop into their seats a lot, and you think like, oh, I already know that I'm there. How do you really know, right? Because you didn't, may have not backed up. I had this happen to me at the hospital the other day. Somebody went back and he walked right over to, not only had a narrow base of support, he was like, okay. And I was like,
And
whoa,
missed the chair.
and almost missed the chair. He sat on the edge because he thought he was at the chair. He was tired and whatever. So narrow base of support and turning, okay? That's setting up
Yeah.
for a fall.
Otherwise, take your time.
Yeah, what's the rush?
Yeah, we don't usually
like to
say
rush around.
slow down, because it's not about being slow, but it's about being in control.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
taking your time is a good point.
Take
I
your
think
time,
that-
take your time on making sure
Exactly.
you're in the right position.
I usually tell people, walk till you feel your legs touching the back of your chair and reach back. Prepare your body. Let your
It's
body know
almost
what
like
you're
though
doing.
You're exhausted.
Plopping down.
Well, and it's a sign of leg strength, right? So if you can't hold your body slow enough to sit properly, your leg strength is decreased. So,
That's
it's
actually-
showing that your walking isn't going to be in
Well,
good.
this is one of the things as you get older, you gotta take into consideration is that you lose muscle mass. And you've got to keep your strength up. And if you don't use it, you will lose it.
That is
Right.
So every day,
You need
one
to-
of my recommendations would be to walk every day, at least 30 minutes. Do it in 10-minute segments if you have to, or 5-minute segments if you have to. But there have been times when I've been tied down to my desk with projects that I have to be done, and boy, it tells on you too. And so if you've got a job like that, it's more important that you get out and walk, okay, or you're going to lose that muscle mass, and as you get older, you're going to need it. And
Yeah.
if you go too long without keeping it developed, it's hard to recover it. It takes time,
Right.
takes development, and it's going to cost you money.
Well, and I'll tell you, so walking alone, they found, does not decrease the risk of falls.
It does keep your cardiovascular and your endurance and your energy up, which is great, and keeps things moving, which is good. But one really good exercise that I would recommend that people do is just a good sit to stand from the chair. I don't know how you feel about that, Kathy, but so with sit to stand, I don't know if you can see me here. So when you sit to stand, okay, one, we work on that good base of support, right? And what is it doing? It's going to work the front of the legs and the back of the legs at the same time, right? So working these muscles together helps build the strength, and it's a really good balance exercise too, right? Because I have to shift my body forward,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Shift my
okay.
body forward.
Now see how your feet, so fix your feet.
Yep, so fix
feet
your
apart.
feet. Yep.
And you want to think of, see how Corie's heels are underneath her bottom more?
Yes.
So you want to think of it like a jet. Your bottom is like a car. Like say your car has a flat tire, right? Where do you put the jack? Do you put it in the middle of the car, or do you put it closer to what you're about to lift?
Right, you put it near the tire you want to change.
Right, because what happens if you put it in the middle?
Yeah, you're lifting the whole car up. And
Yeah.
Right, but the car's going like
the car's
this,
gonna
right?
be
And you don't
back-
want
yeah,
that
it's gonna
jack
be
to drop,
top,
right?
Tipsy-turvy, yeah.
Right.
It's the same thing. You're fighting your body mechanics. If your feet are too far ahead of you, you're fighting your body mechanics to stand
And
up.
even like I do this all the time. I won't be able to get up from here, right?
Right.
I tuck my feet back here, plus this muscle here its job is to help to propel you, okay? So it helps to propel me forward, and if I keep my head up, right, my body knows where it's going. A lot of times I see people getting up like this, right? We want to get up forward, press into the legs, and push, and then tighten our buttocks. And then that be in control, number 4, right? Lower ourselves into the chair. Now is we're given the opportunity for this muscle and these muscles to work
Yeah.
on the way down too, which is actually harder on the body, right? Because the body has to fight against gravity, so we don't go, whoa, right? We want to control ourselves.
And if you notice Corie's head too, so part of that posture that we talked about, Corie wasn't looking at her feet, she was looking ahead, so your shoulders help you get up.
Ah,
Like they keep your upper body in the same position, so your upper body doesn't really move. It's just the piston of your legs just driving you up and forward to stand up. So, and I'm sure everybody
Never
out there's
thought of
like, yeah, my knees, and my hips, right?
Yep.
So if it's hard to do that exercise from a regular chair, or if you're tall, like Davis's knees are above his hips sitting in the chair, just add like a pillow, a cushion from the chair, something like that, so you're practicing standing from where it doesn't hurt.
You could even try it, if that's even a problem, you could even do your bed,
Yep.
right? Some people like
Yep.
to start at their bed because it's typically a little higher.
Right.
And
Your
'cause-
feet, you can sit on the edge of your bed and your feet won't hit the floor.
Right.
yes, so, I was just gonna say something on that regards. Yeah, you want, when you're sitting in a chair, in any chair, even not to do the exercise, it's ideal that your hips are not lower than your knees. So if you're sitting in a chair, right, we don't want the chair, you don't want to be sitting in a chair like that, because what's this doing? It's putting a lot of stress on my hips, a lot of stress on my back. So if I try to get up in a chair from like this, it's a lot of work for me. But this chair is a pretty good chair for me because my hip is a little bit higher than my knees,
Right.
okay? Make it a little easier for me to get up.
Yes,
Yeah.
you know, like, living room furniture tends to be lower.
Yes, that's why I actually said that.
Or a
Yeah.
recliner.
Yep, a
Or a
recliner,
Sometimes,
oh.
sometimes people have a recliner that rocks, like
Yeah.
that. Those are tough to get in and out of
Yeah.
too, right?
You can take a bath blanket and stick it underneath the cushion, something like that, just to give it a little height, because you don't want to be trying to get out of a couch. I mean, we actually had a call at the hospital for that one time, because they actually got stuck in the couch.
Yeah.
So, they're literally
What about
stuck in the
the,
couch.
What
Yeah.
about the recliners that lift you?
So those are great if you need them. But if you don't need, oh,
What's that mean?
It's
My
going
phone.
Oh,
over
oh,
there. That's a nice tune. But if you don't need the lift, don't use it.
yes.
Use it when you need it. And
Yeah, 'cause
lately,
it actually spoils you, right?
Yes,
Well,
it does. You don't use the muscles.
what do we
Yeah.
say? If you don't use it, you,
Well, what did
you lose it, right?
Yeah, it was really good.
Amen.
And I will tell you, if you do use it, don't leave it in the lifted position to sit down.
Oh, right.
Yeah, 'cause
Because-
people then tend to do that.
They
I've seen
tend to
that.
do that. I've just had 2 clients that do that, and what happens is you're always with weight on your feet. You never get a chance to really relax. And if you're having back trouble, hip trouble, knee trouble, you're now keeping that constant weight because those feet are keeping you in the chair and keeping you from sliding out, right? So use the button. This is good exercise too. Pushing that, right? It's good thumb exercise. Push that button and make sure you're nice and level and everything's in proper ergonomics.
But I like that. Very good point. Not to use it unless you really need it.
Yeah.
Use this
Yeah.
muscle, do chair.
Yeah.
Use these legs.
If you have pain, use it because
Yes.
you want to practice where you're not in pain. If you're unsteady and unsafe, use it to keep yourself safe.
It's
for
like
sure.
someone sitting in a wheelchair and never getting up again.
It's true.
Yeah,
You'll never get up again.
right.
It's true. And these muscles have actually determined that it's a big determination on falls.
Yeah.
Okay, people are.
That sit to stand exercise is actually a fall risk assessment that we do. It's part of the CDC's fall risk assessment program, and it's an indicator of how
Likely
where
you
you
are.
are to how likely you are to have a fall. So, so that I want to go back to what you were saying though, like how you were talking about walking. Great exercise for that, but also like if you're sitting at the desk, why not do this? Like, you know, if you're, because
Yeah, when you're watching TV or you're
Yeah.
working at your desk.
Oh,
because
yeah,
we don't do enough sideways stuff.
Yeah.
So this is a good, you
Yeah,
know,
it doesn't take
exercise to do
anything. You're sitting there
sideways.
anyway.
Kick, you know,
Yeah,
do all
kicks,
those, right?
ankle circles like I
Ankle
mentioned.
circles.
Yeah.
Because walking is great, but it doesn't prevent falls. So you need the sideways, backwards, all those other motions. Again, this is why when pickleball players go out, if they haven't been playing in a while or they're new to the game, if all they've been doing is walking,
Well, that's the thing.
they don't know the sideways game. They don't know how to, you know, step backwards without,
Right.
you know, like that. That's just muscles we haven't been using. So use those other directions. 'Cause-
Well, one of the games that they can play where they would learn to move backwards would be basketball.
yeah.
Because
Yeah,
if you're a
are
guard,
you and I having a little session before you?
okay,
Yeah.
if you're a guard, you know, you have to move
Yes.
backwards.
100%.
Always moving
Required.
backwards.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
for sure, and that's good. Like you playing basketball will improve your sideways and your backwards because you
Absolutely, it's
have to do
required.
that, right?
Yeah.
But you don't do it with your feet close together, right?
No, you get the
No.
widest stance you will
that's-
ever have.
And
for
somehow
basketball.
that doesn't translate to pickleball. In all sports, you have a game ready position, right? This is game ready,
Yeah,
bouncer, right? But I see pickleball players standing there like this.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And
How
then
do
they
you
step- they
unlock
step
those
to the
knees and move
side.
backwards fast
Well,
without falling down,
when they
right?
meet somebody who can maneuver, they'll learn that if standing there, they're gonna lose.
Or they'll fall down and then they'll learn
Yeah.
it too.
I was just about to mention, Kathy, did you want to go over why this exercise is important? Because that's kind of an important one.
Because of the side, you're
The
using
hips,
the
yeah.
side. Yeah, so it's along with the movements, right? It's you're working muscles that when we walk, we work front and back, right? Those are we're forward muscles. When we're walking sideways, we're using side and inside. So that's what Corie, I think you're
Yeah,
driving
yeah.
at, that we're using those other muscles that we don't use when we walk forward.
Well, most of my life I've had restless leg syndrome. You know what that is, okay?
Yep.
I do this.
That's-
I do this all
yeah,
day
yeah,
long.
You kick your wife
Yeah,
at
yeah.
night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so that's good. That's probably maybe why you can move in direction.
Maybe,
but
maybe.
that may not be translating past, up past your hips into your back a little more. So you
Well, that
still
may be.
want to
Yeah.
be practicing that.
And then the other thing that I was going to mention about, that was really good point, how you say in the front and the back, was the other thing is these muscles here hold up our hips. That's what its
Yeah.
job is to do. So yes, even though they're not, they're stabilizing, I'm just going to demonstrate this too. So when I walk and I lift up my leg, right, and I go to bring this leg, this hip muscle is holding up this side.
Oh, I
Okay,
didn't
it's the
know that.
opposite. So this hip is see, watch this. I'm going to drop it. Okay, and this hip's going to hold it up so I can advance this leg forward. If this
Oh,
muscle's too weak, what's going to end up happening is we're going to drop our leg a lot quicker, right? And then we end up doing like a shuffling step. So
Oh.
doing this exercise out maybe at the counter, or like Kathy was just doing seated, will help strengthen those.
Yeah,
Okay,
you
it'll help you with
elderly
the-
tend to do shuffle, don't they?
Yes, and there's many reasons for shuffling,
Yeah.
okay? But that is one, a big reason, is not having this muscle nice and strong.
Yeah.
Oh, and that leads to you falling and breaking your hips.
Exactly, and then
And
they
that's
come
the
see
worst
us.
thing you can
Oh,
do.
see therapy, then see us.
Right. Or come see us before
Oh, see us before, and then-
if you start feeling like, so,
Yeah, good point.
before I move on to the other two things that we haven't talked about, I did bring you guys presents. So these are
okay.
finger extensors.
Oh,
That was to me.
A present for
It's a
you.
present.
oh, thank you.
So you put them on your fingers. This
Yeah.
is this is
Oh,
to
yeah.
help you with your grip strength. So it's a
Oh,
different
yeah.
form. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
You know, all these exercises too work out well for you if you're diabetic.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And what I looked at these, like, how do we look at grip strength compared to fall risks, fall prevention, right?
Oh, okay.
So grip strength is an indicator of frailty. So if your grip strength is starting to get less, it means your overall body is getting less. I mean, obviously, unless you've had an injury or there's some neurological condition or something like that. But if your grip strength is starting to get less, I have some statistics. They found
Let me demonstrate.
that grip strength is a strong predictor of mortality.
Whoops.
A low grip strength was associated with a 16% increase in the risk of all-cause mortality. So you don't even need to do a sit-to-stand test to know that if you are having trouble, again, other than maybe arthritis or other things going on, if you're starting to feel that you can't open jars or tie your shoes or button as well, your overall strength is declining, and it might not just because your hands are getting weak, but your body overall might be getting weak.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yep. If you have decreased grip strength, you're 2.5 times more likely to have a disability in activities of daily living, so dressing, bathing, and even walking.
So
There
is
is
there an exercise you can do to build up your grip strength? Or just-
that what I just gave you.
Yeah,
That's
this is
what it
one,
is, huh?
right?
Yeah. So just like that.
Oh.
So this one, you know the stress ball? We all
Yeah.
petted it with the
Yes.
stress ball.
Yes, I
This
got one
one's
on my
working the
desk, I use it
extensors
all the
more.
time.
Yeah, so stress ball works here.
Yeah,
Works these here. So in order to have balance between your muscles, you need to work the ones on the back. And like Corie said, this is the one working the muscles on the
Because these muscles are stabilizing, so when I go to twist something or pull something, right, these muscles are the stabilizers, as these muscles tend to be.
as they're contracting and letting you
Oh,
hold it.
okay.
Yeah.
'cause
So
I have, sometimes have trouble opening jars now.
Mm-hmm.
I got a jar opener for that.
Yeah, which is great. It's great to have tools, but if the reason is because you're just losing strength in your hands, try, like I said, the stress ball. Usually, the stress balls to kind of help you de-stress,
Yeah.
but these will work the opposite.
And you could do individually, practice at
Yeah.
a time. You could do them
And
all
these are things you can do
together.
while you're watching TV.
Exactly, yep.
They're actually even found in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition that older adults with low grip strength were 1.5 times more likely to be readmitted to the hospital after discharge. Yep. So just little hand exercises can help increase your overall
Right.
strength and health and stuff like that. I just thought that was kind of cool.
You don't have something like this at home, these fancy things like this, you can take, I would take why am I going blank? A pillowcase. You put your hand in the pillowcase and you put your hand at the very bottom and you try to push against the pillowcase, and the
Oh.
resistance of the pillowcase, yes, you're not gonna get the same fancy elastic thing, but that it's the pressure that you're looking for.
Right.
That's what we used to do.
Yeah, you can use rubber bands
Yep,
too.
you could take
I mean,
rubber
there's-
bands, you could take hair elastics, scrunchies, and practice it with that, just to make it a little,
Well, people who work with their hands have good grip strength.
yes.
People who have administrative jobs that they might be just typing or writing.
Writing in your journal and things like that helps keep your hands nice and strong too.
Well, but think of that. So if you're typing, right,
Right.
you're
Yeah.
using hopefully you're in a good position, right?
Yeah,
You hear about people getting carpal tunnel all the time, right?
yes.
But it's because these muscles are tight. So they're pulling and they're closing your little tunnel in here,
Yeah.
closing it down. So that's when the circulation is restricted, nerves restricted, all that. And what do they tell you to do to help combat that is to stretch, right?
We like the prayer
Which
stretch.
again is
Yeah.
doing that exercise, keeping your fingers extending instead of flexing, and keeping these a little shorter and stretching these out.
These
So,
are getting overused, they're constantly being cramped,
yeah.
right? And then these muscles are getting stretched out, because if you think about that, right? These muscles are getting stretched and these muscles are getting tightened. So
Now,
yeah, a
these
nice
are
good
exercises-
stretch.
Some of these you could do while you're driving too, right? If you're holding onto the wheel, you can put a little tension.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just be careful with
I-
that,
yeah.
because if something comes up and you're like, look at me, you know.
Well, I know if
You
I
can
stop-
wave high
I
instead of
stop at
using
a
the
red
one
light,
finger.
I
Yeah,
like
yeah.
to just exercise.
You know what I like
Yeah,
to
but
say?
again, that's-
I like to tell people to do exercises during commercials. If you're someone that likes to watch TV,
Yeah.
when a commercial comes on, exercise. As far as driving, the only exercise that I recommend doing, and I personally do this when I'm at a stoplight, I do
Right.
bum squeezes.
Yeah,
Not
and
with
if you're stopped, yeah, like wave hi to everybody around you, like, hey, I'm doing my finger
my, yeah, that's with your
exercises,
hand,
you
but
know?
I usually don't.
When you're driving,
Just make
just
sure
pay
you use
attention.
your whole
Yeah,
hand.
just focus on the paying
Yeah,
attention.
just drive.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so.
Everybody's like, what is that guy doing? I'm just
yeah, jazz hands, right? So,
But then you don't notice the light turns green and you sit there and then they get mad at you. They're honking their
whatever, they
horn.
just honk their horn. And then you can do another one. Okay, I'm going.
All right, I'm going now.
So that was what we did.
So you're
Four,
showing,
yeah.
what you're doing here is you're showing that there's a lot of little things you can do while you're just sitting there doing nothing else.
Absolutely. We never tell people to go exercise for 30 minutes. Like, because if you can't exercise for 30 minutes, you're going to blow it off, and then you're not going to do any exercise all day long, right?
Right.
Do it here, do it there. I would rather have people moving all day long in little
Then-
increments, because you're going to find you're actually exercising more than 30 minutes a day,
right.
right? If you go to your coffee,
Yeah.
you're brewing your coffee, sit there, hold the counter, do a couple of side kicks, or up on your toes, right?
While I was waiting out in the lobby for you guys, I was doing my toe heel.
Nice.
My toe heels.
Nice, Davis, right.
Our bodies are meant to be dynamic. If you
Yeah.
looked at the muscles and you took up the skin, you would see that how the muscles all cross over each other, right?
Right.
We're meant to be moving,
Yep.
right? So being in a static position all day long, sitting down watching TV or behind the computer, even if you sit behind the computer and you're like really into that video game or whatever it is that you're playing, get up every half an hour and just stand and stretch.
Well, that's one of the reasons the senior games was
Oh, it's great.
created, was to give you the motivation to stay active
Right.
and to
Definitely.
play like you did when you're in high school, when you were kids, okay.
And have friends
And-
doing it,
And,
right? Yeah.
and yeah, well, our motto is stay fit, have fun, make friends.
Oh, I like that.
So
That covers
huge.
that covers a
That
lot of
covers
things.
it all.
So huge. So when you're getting ready to go to do your senior games and you're brushing your teeth, just shift your weight, do your knee bends, do, something like just
Yeah.
whatever while you're rolling your shoulders back, standing tall. Stand up against the wall and brush your teeth,
Yeah. Posture on the
Throw
wall.
those in wherever you can and then start counting those minutes and see how long you've actually been exercising.
And it actually becomes a habit after a while,
Yep.
right? And you'll start doing it without even realize, without
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
consciously knowing you're doing it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So number 5,
Is be in control.
that was 4.
Can
we just do that one 'cause that was up in the down?
Wasn't for control. Be in control. Is that what I just said? Be in
Yep.
control. I said it twice.
So number 5.
Forward gaze.
There we go.
Thank you. Got them mixed up.
So forward gaze when you're walking, right? You don't want to look down at your feet. You're going to look 6 to 10
Oh, it's-
ahead of you so you can see what's coming, so you don't miss anything. It's just to get your head up over your shoulders and help you balance.
That eliminates the phone in the hand then while you're.
Oh yeah, that phone
Oh.
again, that is putting you not, unless you hold it here, but it's still not a great idea when you're crossing the street.
So
Oh,
true.
that's
While
a-
we were eating, I was going to mention that to you because we just went to that restaurant nearby, and we were right near a stoplight, and I saw a woman. She had her phone as she was crossing the street. She was looking down.
I
I'm like,
know, I mean, I saw someone
I
doing
don't
that today,
understand
and they're
that.
talking, and they're looking at the phone, probably doing a video chat.
Probably.
maybe,
But-
but
Look at that, the thing was
How
on the internet
dangerous.
for a while back, where the woman's walking and she walked into the fountain in the mall.
Oh jeez.
oh really?
Oh, you ever saw that one?
Oh,
No.
just,
No.
Yeah,
Walked right
yeah.
over, tipped right over into
Yeah,
it.
fell right in.
Oh, good.
And she was walking with her phone.
Yeah. It's
I mean,
just,
I-
like, those
Have a
are such
clue.
avoidable accidents.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just have,
You know?
have a clue what's going on around you because it could save your life, really.
Oh,
Really?
yeah, I mean,
Plus, you're missing out. There's so much in the world to see,
Well,
not
and
just
you-
everything on your phone.
You're keeping your senses working. Like
Yeah,
if you're
exactly.
staring at that all the time, like you're missing, you're not hearing things, you're not seeing things, you're not feeling things, You're not
You're
using
connecting.
your sixth sense that
Well-
something might be coming right at you. You're too
I don't
focused on that
understand
kitty
how
video.
people get so addicted to that phone.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Walmart and this woman's walking around shopping and she's talking. And I saw her about a half hour later and she's still doing it.
Yeah.
I said, who the hell are you talking to?
It's so important.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, what bothers me sometimes, I have a tough time with that. Like if you see, and I have a tough time even going to Walmart because of things I see, but which we all need to. It's perfectly fine. It's just I see some stuff, and I mean it in a way where I was at a store at Walmart, and this woman, she was talking, and she had 2 children, 2 little kids with her. And they're like, "Do-do-do-do-do-do-do." And the whole time she's on the phone. I'm like, that's such an opportunity to engage with your kids, to teach them about
Yeah.
shopping, to teach them about, being nice to people and working together and paying attention to their environment. There's such an opportunity of teaching there. And so, yeah, I have a tough time with that because I think the communication and the connection is key.
Well, and we're worried about what their necks are going to look like. Talk about our people not being able to look over their
Oh, that's
shoulder,
true.
but they're already
Yeah.
heads are forward and not in the right place.
Yes.
So, trying to look over their shoulder, like it's already tight and not working.
You don't even realize it.
Yeah, so our last one is make a plan.
Make a plan.
So all of those, and you make a plan, like how you're going to stay healthy, how you're going to keep moving well, and how you're going to play basketball at 85, right?
For the rest of my life.
Rock on, rock
And you
on,
can
my
make
friend.
plans for short-term plans. I have a plan. I want to be able to get outside to my garden, okay, by the end of this summer or something like that. Or it
Mm-hmm.
can be a long-term plan. You know, I want to go on vacation next year and I want to be safe for being able to use my walker or not use my walker. So
Yep, have a plan in place for
have
sure.
a plan.
Oh, yeah. Stay busy. You gotta keep your mind
Yes.
and yourself busy,
That's
your
it.
body busy.
That's good. Yep.
Yep.
Have
Yeah,
goals.
we say ACEs, so we promote the concept of ACEs. So an activity, a chore, engagement, and social every day. Something every day. Just make it ACEs.
An activity could be anything. You know, your activity could be a chore. You know what I mean? Like I have a woman that she loves cleaning. That's her thing. I asked her, I said, do you have any activities that you enjoy? She said, yes, cleaning. I said, no, I meant activities. She said, yes,
That's it.
cleaning. I went,
Yeah,
oh.
okay.
So to each his own. That's
That
why
won't
I
be
said,
me, but
yeah,
I will
I-
do a
I-
chore.
I love sweeping. I know that sounds silly, but that's my favorite chore.
Great. We all have our,
I love
ours,
things.
right?
I do.
No, I
It's
well,
satisfying.
I do 2 TV shows a week, and I do
Yeah, so that's you.
radio show, and so I'm always busy.
And you're engaged, like
Yes.
you're engaged, bringing
Yeah.
people in, teaching
Yeah.
people out there
Mhm.
good
Oh.
things, yeah.
And we know you like basketball and competing.
I like basketball. I like sleeping.
You like sleeping.
Yeah.
I've heard
Sleep
that
is-
one before too. Sleeping is a good activity too.
Sleeping's very important. Sleeping's very important for people who aren't sleeping. That's a jealousy factor right there.
Yeah. Some people it might be reading. It might be
Right.
crochet.
Right.
There's a lot of different things you could do. Keep going.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I like reading it. It's a little mix of everything.
Mhm.
I don't like to read all day, but I like reading,
Mhm.
especially history books.
Really, history's your.
Oh, yeah, love it. And but I'll watch TV in between.
Mhm.
I do a monthly news column for magazine, so
Yeah.
I have to think about that all the time. What am I going to write about? So you keep your mind active.
That is
yeah.
key.
Well, there's one thing I'm hooked on lately, and that's the great courses. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say the
Yes.
great courses?
Yes.
Like
I
you
mean, you
can
get a
sign up
PhD
that.
looking at the
at
great
any of the
courses.
courses, yeah.
What
For
is
good
this?
prices too, right?
My son bought me a 2-year subscription to unlimited great courses. I'm going crazy, okay.
Is
Just
it?
signing up to learn whatever,
It's
Ah.
college professor, they have
It's
gone,
lectures.
they're college professors doing from 6 to 26 lessons on a particular subject.
Oh, that's great.
And,
Yeah.
and my themes are, when you mention history, I love history. And I'm doing everything on the mind.
I love
and,
that.
and also on aging or physical. Those are really my.
Awesome.
We got to wrap it up.
Oh, really?
Wrap
Time's
it
up.
up.
Yeah.
Wow, that
Yeah.
went
But
so
Thank you for
fast.
coming
It
up.
always
Thank you,
goes fast.
Davis,
Oh,
for coming
always
in.
a pleasure. Thanks for having
Yes,
us.
Thank you.
Great
Anytime.
to see you.
Great.
Great to see you both.
And we'll see you next week on, we got another senior, we're going to be talking Alzheimer's next week.
Okay.